Today is going to be one of the most gentle classes of the 10 that we're doing. There will be one that's mostly seated postures, but today's class is mostly about posture, because it is from your posture that all the other poses come from. And when you look back at the old texts that were written about yoga, it just talks about posture. And the posture must be comfortable and it must be steady. So you need to be in a position that you can hold steadiness and comfort. For them, it was a long period of time for meditation. And so the most balanced way to establish your posture is to have the head balanced very lightly on the spine. But for most of us, sitting at the desk, driving the car, eating, typing, doing all these things in front of you, goes back to caveman days when we were building fires and grunting and using rocks for tools, right? This posture has become quite normal for most of us. And so we want to try and undo some of that by opening the chest and straightening the spine. So I'd like for all of you, I think we all have 2 blocks, to sit on 2 blocks side by side. So you have a little bench, and try to sit towards the edge of those blocks so that your knees are pointing downwards as much as they are able to, right? For some of us, the knees are still going to be high, but that's okay. We're going to work on that. That's why some of you have come to yoga, to have a little more flexibility. And the reason we want the knees lower than the hips is because when they're at the same height, or sometimes the knees are even higher, then your pelvis tips back, and then your spine is curved. And then when I ask you to sit up, you'll do this to sit up, but your pelvis is still tilting back, and you're trying to shove your spine up. So we need to be able to tilt that pelvis forward. And so to tilt the pelvis forward, for some of us, if you're too tight here, it's not going to go. So by sitting up a little higher, you can hopefully get the knees down. And whether you cross your feet or don't cross the feet, that's not important necessarily, depending on your ankle and your knees and how things feel. So you can certainly have the soles of your feet together if that's more comfortable for you. But now I'd like you to start to think about, where is your head relative to your hips? Is it slightly forward? If it is, try to bring it back. In fact, everyone lean back to the point where you feel like your belly has to engage because you're about to fall back. Holding that, come slightly forward until the belly can release a little bit. And chances are that's a straight spine. The crown of your head is not the peak. It's where women will know we wear a headband. If you put a headband, you don't put it at the peak of your head, you put it right here. That's typically where the crown of your head is. And we want the crown of the head to be in line with the ears, in line with the shoulders, in line with the hips. So if there was a plumb line that went straight down from the crown of your head, it would go straight down to your tailbone. All right, so sitting up nice and tall, placing your hands just lightly on the inner thighs. We try and roll the shoulders back a little bit, sitting up nice and tall. Now in yoga, there are lots of ways to sit. For most of you, you're sitting in Sukhasana. So already you're in a yoga pose. How about that? If you're the sort of person that likes to tuck one foot in under the other, then that's Siddhasana. If you like keeping the soles of your feet together, so go ahead and try. You can try a few different ones. Soles of the feet together, that's Baddha Konasana. And then we have a handful of people who are really comfy in Ardha Padmasana, half lotus. Now there is full Padmasana where the other foot goes on top, but please don't do that unless you've been doing it your entire life, like from childhood. It's a knee tweaker. And so I don't like to recommend it to people who aren't used to sitting cross-legged. Okay? Typically what happens is when they go into full Padmasana, what you're doing is you're tweaking this knee to get that foot up. That's compromising the knee joint. And then when they finally get there, what starts to happen is this foot, the bottom foot, is almost breaking in half because the force of this leg is pushing down on it. And so it's not very comfortable for most of us. So choose a comfortable position. Sitting up nice and tall, roll the shoulders back, trying to lift your sternum, which is the center here, trying to lift that up. And imagine that you could spin your armpits up towards the ceiling from here to roll the shoulders back, bringing the base of the skull back and tucking your chin slightly. Now we're going to work on the breath, just for a short while. Trust me, we will get active in this class. But for now, since I have you all sitting peacefully and quietly, we're going to work on the breath. So whether your eyes are open, whether your eyes are closed, whether you're just gazing at the floor in front of you, try to find something steady that you can focus on, or close your eyes. So in anticipation of the class, in the rush to get here, maybe your heart rate has gone up a little bit. So we want to try and settle it down. No matter how cool as a cucumber you think you are, your heart rate will give you away. And to settle the heart rate, we need to slow down the breath. So when you're ready, we'll all exhale as a group. So letting the air out. We'll start to inhale slowly, 1, 2, 3, and we try to hold on full, and then exhale, 1, 2, 3. Resting on empty, inhale, 1, 2, 3, hold on full, exhale, 1, 2, 3. Go again, counting on your own. Maybe you have a different number. But we want the number to be the same on the inhale as it is on the exhale. Whatever that number is, you decide. So the yogis believe that the breath is prana, that it's energy, the air is energy. So we want to try to hold on to that energy for as long as possible. And so by slowing down the breath, we're holding on to that energy. And it feeds us, it makes us healthier, it makes us happier. Now from here, we're going to start moving our arms a little bit. Some of you will be perfectly happy sitting on the floor. Some of you might wish to stay on the blocks. It's up to you. So when you're ready, either on the blocks or on the floor, interlace your fingers, press the palms away from you, and raise the arms up overhead. Trying to pull the elbows back to the ears. If that's uncomfortable for your shoulders, then release the hands. Make the shoulders a little softer. Okay? This is not for everyone. Okay? Yoga is not one size fits all. The poses you see me do, those are my poses. I've been working on those poses for 20 years or more. You have to work out what your poses are meant to look like. And I'm only here to give you options, offer you some guidance on how to modify the poses for yourself. Now from here, we're going to start to lean to the right, and then take the right arm down and see if you can go a little further. So we want to try to create more space here between the ribs on the left side of the body. If you can get the fingertips down, take the fingertips down. And maybe turn your chin slightly to the left shoulder. And then when you're ready, start to shift forward into a forward bend, reaching the arms out in front of you. And you can either keep it very active by stretching the fingers, reaching the palms outwards, or you can keep it quite passive and let the arms be soft. But what's more important here is what's happening around the hips and the spine. So for those of you who can rest your head down, we want to work on pushing the hips back and releasing in the middle back. Those of you who cannot take your head down, I'd like you to focus on tucking your chin to stretch the back of the neck. How are you going?
I'm stiff.
It's okay. I think a lot of us are, so that's okay. Yeah, some of you might be more comfortable off the blocks. That's fine. And then when you're ready, inhale, start to come up. Change the cross of your legs. Some of you have been there for a while. And we'll go to the other side. Change the interlace of your fingers. Press the palms up to the ceiling. If you need to, release the hands and go a little softer around the shoulders. So the style of yoga that I practice is quite strong. So we interlace the fingers, we keep the arms straight, we push them high, we try and relax the neck despite all this effort. But that style of yoga is not for everyone. So for some of you, you're looking for something a little softer, a little gentler, and that's okay. All right? So you decide what's working for you. And then when you're ready, start to lean to the left, getting a long stretch on the right side of the body, and then release the left arm. See if you can go a little further. So we have muscles here between the ribs, the intercostal muscles. We want to try and stretch those muscles. We want to try and stretch the side body, the lats, the triceps, the hand, the fingers. There's muscles there. We want to stretch them too. Now, as you reach to the left, your right knee wants to come up. Try and keep that knee down. And sometimes that's the funny thing about yoga or any physical activity. You're trying to will your body to do something and it just won't do it. And yoga tries to teach us to just accept that. This is your body. Be content with it and what it can do. Don't focus on what it can't do. Now when you're ready to transition, start to move to the front of the mat, taking a forward bend. If you can rest your head down, rest your head down. Some of you might rest your head on a block. But if you'd like for your head to just hang, then please tuck the chin. Try to lengthen the back of the neck as we try to push the hips back and reach the arms forward. So for me, one of the most important things is when you leave class today, or any day really, that you feel energized and content with your effort, not broken and limping and cursing, or thinking, oh, I can't do yoga. This is so hard, this is not for me. I think yoga is for everyone, but it's about finding what that practice is for you, and what's safe for you, and what's within your ability. All right, when you're ready, start to come on up to sitting. And we're going to do an exercise. Actually, move the blocks away for a moment. We're going to go into Adho Mukha Virasana. So, sorry that I should mention. So in yoga, there is an old language called Sanskrit. Each pose has a name. And the reason I like to use these names is because I like to think of these poses as people, right? They have personalities. Some of them I like, some of them I don't like. Some of them I dread, some of them I fear, some of them I love. Right? It's like, oh, I love this pose. And each of these poses has a name and this personality and this way that I interact with it. And so you will hear me from time to time use these Sanskrit names. Whether or not you learn them is kind of irrelevant. I always follow them up with English. But anyway, you'll hear me say some of these crazy words from time to time. All right, so Adho Mukha Virasana. Toes are together, knees apart. If that is uncomfortable for your knees, please let me know. We can do something else. You're going to walk the hands forward and try and rest your head down. If you cannot rest the head down, then please grab a block or 2 blocks and rest your head on the blocks. By taking the knees apart, your belly can be free. And when the belly is free, then the diaphragm can move. And the diaphragm is a large muscle. So we want to allow the diaphragm to move. So we want to be able to push the weight back onto the heels as we reach the arms forward to lengthen the spine. If you can keep the wrists and elbows lifted off the floor, try and keep them lifted off the floor by walking the hands a little further out. For some of you, that's uncomfortable for your shoulders, so keep the elbows down. That's okay. But right now, looking around the room, you can't see what I can see, but I can see who has tension in their middle back and who doesn't. So every spine is different. And so we're going to try and work with that. And I promise you, if you stay with yoga long enough, you can start to relieve some of that tightness and have a spine that moves more freely. And when the spine moves more freely, you can breathe more freely, you can move more easily, and generally you might feel better. All right, now from this pose, Adho Mukha Virasana, we're going to come up to Virasana, but Virasana is not easy for everyone. So you're either going to, so it's a kneeling posture. I'll show you from the back. You're either sitting on 1 block or 2 blocks, like that. Now, if you don't need the blocks, traditionally we take the calves out and we sit between the feet. But you got to have pretty loose quads for that and really happy knees. This is not for everyone's knees. You might also bring the toes together, heels apart, and sit on your feet. But for those of you who have really thin yoga mats, that might start to hurt the bones of your feet. Don't worry, we won't be here for too long. I know this pose is not comfortable for everyone. And if you're one of those people, then please just sit any old way. It's okay. Okay? It's important to acknowledge this pose is not for me. And that's okay. But we do try to sit with the knees together and the feet apart. Okay? And then from here, we're going to do one shoulder opener, which, and you'll hear me say this a lot, is not for everyone. I'll show you what it looks like first before we go there. We twist the arms like that, okay? You're like, what? It's okay. I'm going to show you again. First, we're going to start with just holding the elbows, okay? Holding the elbows, tuck your chin slightly, and you will start to feel the stretch across the trapezius, maybe a little bit into the rhomboids and across the lats. And really, it's as if you're trying to pull those arms apart, tucking your chin, stretching that back. All right, now for those of you who think you can go a little further, try to hold the tops of your arms. And then tuck the chin, and really like you're trying to pull those arms apart. Some of you will stay here. Those of you who think you can get those elbows touching and the palms touching, if you can get to this point, then you can probably cross the elbows. So we'll start with the right elbow under the left, And then we try to wiggle the left fingers into the right palm. Raise the elbows, pull the wrists away from the forehead. And if you're not quite getting there, then just go back to this. I promise it's stretching about the same muscles. It's just not as twisty and crazy. There's a few crazy poses in yoga. Try to raise those elbows, pull the wrists away from the forehead, and tuck your chin slightly. You'll feel the stretch into the base of the skull. And then exhale, release. Take the arms apart and change sides. So for those of you who are just holding, maybe change how you were holding. For those of you crossing the elbows, the left elbow is now on bottom. The right elbow is on top. Now this is one half of a pose called Garudasana, and we usually cross the legs as well, so it gets very twisty. But we're not going there today. We'll get to that later in the series. For now, we're just working on sitting, we're working on posture, and trying to open up and stretch that middle back. And then when you're ready, exhale, release those arms. And relax. It's important to let the tension go. Some poses cause a lot of tension. You just have to take a deep breath and let it go. Like people, right? That's why poses are like people. Some people cause a lot of tension. You just have to take a deep breath, smile, and move on. All right. We're now going to work on standing. And everyone will need a block. And I'd like you all to find a spot up against the wall. So this block is going to go right between your shoulder blades, along your spine. And you're going to try to press your spine into the block. I know, I can see your faces. It's like, what? What is this? Because it's this part of the rib cage that we want to bring forward when we're standing. And the block is the best way for you to get a sense of where your spine is. Do you have a tendency to cave in a little bit in the front of the chest? Or can you open that chest? And to open that chest, it's not just about squeezing the shoulder blade, it's about bringing that middle spine forward, right there. For women, it's right around where the bra line is. Men, just imagine where your bra line would be if you wore a bra. All right, now from here, try to step your heels back a little further so that you feel like you're extra tall. Right? And that's a funny thing. Can you stand taller? Don't know. Sure you can. Absolutely. I believe you can. Right? If I hunch my back, I'm shorter. If I stand straighter, I'm taller. Now from here, so this pose is a foundation for Tadasana. Tadasana is mountain pose. So go ahead and start to spin your thumbs away from you, opening the front of the chest. You're going to start to feel the stretch down into your arms, pulling the middle fingers back. Now, we try to keep the openness here, but then spin the palms back down. So can you keep the arms externally rotating, but turn the palms down towards you? It's tricky, right? Inner elbows, spin away, palms turn down. Tadasana. Ta-da! You're standing. All right, now from here, we're going to go to Urdhva Hastasana. Now, typically, we take the arms out to the side, but we're not going to do that today because these guys are going to hit each other. So you guys are going to raise the arms up to the front and see if you can take your thumbs to the wall behind you. I heard some of you going, no way. Some of you are doing it very good. It is hard though, right? And I'll tell you what the hard work is actually avoiding going into a back bend. It's like, sure, Jen, if I could go into a back bend, I might be able to reach the wall. We don't want to go into the back bend. I want you to keep this distance from the top points of your pelvis to the bottom of your ribs. So you were standing, there's a distance there. We want to keep that distance when we take the arms up. We don't want to increase the distance by leaning back. So do what you need to do. Go to standing, get a sense of what that distance is between your lower ribs and the top of your pelvis. Try to keep that distance strong in the belly, and then inhale, raise the arms up. Urdhva Hastasana. This is another posture. Now, for some of you with shoulder injuries, or just actually if you have really strong, highly developed shoulders, this is hard to do. So maybe just relax a little bit. Don't go so strong and hard, okay? Just let the shoulders release a little bit, okay? Over time and with practice, eventually you get straight arms. But for now, just work with what you've got, okay? All right, now when you're ready, exhale, release. You feeling that, Miguel? Yeah? All right, so from this posture comes the forward bend, Uttanasana. And most of you will need 2 blocks for Uttanasana. So go ahead and take your block, come to your mat, and we will take Uttanasana, forward bend. Let me show you Uttanasana first. Actually, we're going to go through a little vinyasa here in a minute, so I'll just show you the quick sequence. For you guys, we're going to go with feet hip width apart. Traditionally, we stand with feet together, but we're going to go feet hip width apart. Please don't move. Just watch for a moment. We stand in Tadasana. We do all this stuff here. Get ready. And then we take the arms up to Urdhva Hastasana. And then we exhale down to Uttanasana. All right. Now, traditionally, the fingernails are in line with the toes, and the wrists are pressing back to the heels, and the head goes to the shins or wherever it goes. For most of us, that is not achievable, not even in a lifetime, okay? And so for many of you, even touching the floor is a challenge. To touch the floor, some of you are going to bend your knees. And here's my thing about bending your knees. Your muscles only know what they're used to doing. And so if you always practice your forward bend with bent knees, so your forward bend looks like that, then that's what your legs get used to. That's what they learn, and that's what they understand. So for your legs to understand what straight leg stretch feels like, you have to practice with straight legs. And it's with straight legs that you really stretch the hamstrings and you really stretch the calves. If I bend my knees in a forward bend, yeah, there's still a stretch there, but there's nothing happening in the calves. There's no stretch in the calves if I bend my knees. So we want to try and work with straight legs. And so for some of you, even the blocks are too far. So if you know right now those blocks are too low, please get a chair. Go now, get a chair. Don't be shy. The chairs are there, and they're your friends. The reason I want you to have some support is because if you're hanging out in space, not able to reach the blocks, your back is doing all the work. Your back is doing a lot, not all the work, but your back is doing a lot of work. In order to stretch, the muscles need to be soft. And if you're holding tension in your back, then your back can't really stretch. It's too focused on just trying to keep you lifted and trying to keep you safe. So I want you to be able to touch something with straight legs. And for some of you, that's the seat of a chair. So turn the chair in front of you, Michael. Oh, you give it a go. Okay. All right. All right. So when you're ready, blocks in front of you. Spinning the thumbs away from you just for a moment to get the external rotation in the shoulders. Hold that external rotation. Turn the palms down. Tadasana. And then when you're ready, spin the palms away from you. Inhale. Urdhva Hastasana. Reaching up a little higher. On the exhale, we start to hinge forward. Now, if you need to bend your knees, bend your knees. But then when you get down, either to the floor, to the blocks, or to the chair, then straighten the knees. So I want you to get a sense for what a stretch with straight legs should feel like. And if you realize, hey, I don't need these blocks, then remove the blocks. But I would like your hands to be on something, either the floor, the blocks, and the reason being so that your back can relax and release. If you're just holding your back and your head and your torso in space with no support for the hands, your back can't relax. Now from here, we're going to come up for another posture called Ardha Uttanasana. And that's halfway lift. So halfway lift for some of you is hands to knees or thighs. Some of you, it's just up to the fingertips. But what we do is we try to lift the chest and the chin just enough to see the floor in front of you. And so we try to get a fairly straight spine. And then we exhale and we go forward back to Uttanasana, the forward bend. And then when you're ready, soft behind the knees. That means for some of you, you bend the knees. Some of you can still have soft knees and straight legs, but it's a really subtle thing that you'll start to learn with practice. But anyway, we go soft behind the knees, pull from the hips as you raise yourself up to Urdhva Hastasana, and then exhale down to Tadasana. All right, so we're going to do this 3 times. It's called a half-vinyasa. Vinyasa is the sequence of linking poses with the breath. So we're going to do 3 of them and then see where we're at. All right, so blocks, chair, whatever you need. I haven't talked much about the legs and the standing posture, but we might just skip that for another day. All I'm going to say for now is that when your feet are hip-width apart, we try to have the inner edges of the feet parallel to each other. So if you have a tendency to turn your toes out, try to bring them in so that your big toe, the inner edge of your big toe and the inner edge of your heel are in line with each other, and those lines are parallel to each other. Okay? All right, standing nice and tall, spinning the thumbs away from you. Inhale, raise the arms up to Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, Uttanasana, either hands to blocks, hands to floor. Let the head hang. Let the back of the neck be soft. Let the weight of the head give you a nice stretch there. And then on the inhale, we come up for a halfway lift, gazing at the floor in front of you, either hands to knees or on fingertips to the blocks or fingertips to the floor. And then on your next exhale, we go back to the forward bend, Uttanasana. No, you stay down. I'm making this a little longer than usual. Next time around, we're going to move a little faster. Now, when you're ready, soft behind the knees. On the inhale, start to raise the arms up to Urdhva Hastasana, and then exhale back to Tadasana. All right, we'll go a little more quickly this time. The reason we're going quickly is to try to connect the movements with the breath. All right, so let's see how we go. When you're ready, inhale. Exhale, Uttanasana, forward bend. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward bend, Uttanasana. Let the head hang. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, Tadasana. Again, inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, arms up, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, Tadasana. Ta-da! That's it. You're doing yoga, right? It may not seem like much, but it is. These poses are the foundation of a lot of other stuff that we do in this class, okay? All right, so from here, I'd like you to, from here we start getting into some other messy stuff called, we step back into a high plank position. So let's skip that. We're going to come to that next week. I would like some of you to experiment with standing with your feet together. So when we stand, and I'll tell you how you'll know which group you belong in. If you have tight hamstrings, if you have tight hips, if you have lower back issues, if you're pregnant, you should stay with feet hip-width apart. Okay? If any of that applies to you. Otherwise, if you think, I'm okay in the legs and the hips, then you might move to feet together. And when we stand with the feet together, the toes are together and the heels are together, but we try to maintain a little gap between the ankle bones. The reason being is to try and work the soles of the feet, the arches. So if your ankle bones are banging into each other, you probably pronate. That means you roll in. If you have a really big gap between the ankle bones, you probably supinate. That means you roll out. And I'm not passing judgment on anyone, it's just how your feet are. But we can work towards trying to find a balance between those two extremes. And looking at your ankle bones and having a gap that's about the width of your finger is usually a good cue as to when your weight is balanced evenly on the inside and the outside of your foot. Okay? All right. Now what happens in the legs when we stand with straight legs? It's important that you stand with straight legs without locking your knees. So there's this subtle difference between engaging the quadriceps to raise the kneecaps. So I don't know if you can see it, but there's knees down, there's knees up, knees down, knees up. And it's just a subtle thing of engaging the quadriceps or releasing the quadriceps. But that's different from locking the knees back. We don't want to do that. So try and find this balance where you can have strong legs by engaging the quadriceps without locking your knees. And then in the lower leg, we spread the toes. Why? Because spreading and lifting the toes engages the front of the lower leg. So we want to engage those muscles as well. Because when you engage the front of the leg, then we can stretch the back of the leg, right? They work they're opposing muscles. So one flexes, the other one stretches, right? Triceps doing nothing here, the biceps doing the work. Same thing in the legs. When we're going to stretch the hamstring and the calf, we need to engage the front of the leg. All right, spinning the thumbs away from you. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. See if you can keep your knees straight as you exhale down to Uttanasana. If you need to bend your knees, but then try to go back to straight legs if you can. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward bend, Uttanasana. Soft behind the knees, pull from the hips as you raise yourself up, Urdhva Hastasana, and then exhale, Tadasana. All right, we're going to do that 2 more times. Similar pace. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Sorry, I raised my arms differently. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Looking at your knees or even your belly button. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, Tadasana. Last time. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale all the way up, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, Tadasana. All right, beautiful. Now we're going to lie down for Savasana, which is like a little yoga kip. It is meant to be restful. So to lie down comfortably in Savasana, some of you just lie down, and that's great. Palms up, hands by your sides, legs stretched out, like a starfish if you want. Some of you, however, are not comfortable on your backs. If you have lower back issues, you might be happier with your knees bent, knees together, feet apart. So go ahead and lie down. And traditionally in Savasana, we do rest with the palms up by our sides. But since you're new, I'll let you get away with placing your hands on your belly if you feel better that way. Again, if you have a tight lower back, if you feel any gripping in the lower back, then please bend the knees, bring the knees together, but take the feet wide apart. Having the feet apart and the knees together just allows the legs to rest into each other. Now, usually in Savasana, it's nice to have silence, but I'm going to talk you through this posture. This is a posture. And Savasana means corpse pose, which I know sounds very morbid. But to the yogis, death is not morbid. Death is just a transition to the next life. It's just a stepping stone. And so in Savasana, we practice letting go of the past life and looking forward to the new life. Even if you don't believe in reincarnation, right? You can still have this sense of letting go of the old and welcoming the new. So the yogis also believe in karma. And karma can go with you into the next life, which can be depressing when you consider maybe you're carrying old karma from a previous life and you're trying to deal with it in this life. And so when we practice Savasana, when we practice corpse pose, we don't want to take those bad feelings into our next life. So in this posture, we practice letting go of anger, letting go of anxiety, jealousy, fear. And we try to open ourselves to more positive feelings like love, empathy, generosity. So take a moment to consider, what can you leave behind? What have you been hanging on to that no longer serves you? And let it go. And with each feeling that you let go, take a deep breath and relax. So with each inhale, we have the rise of the chest. With the exhale, we feel the weight of the spine sinking into the floor, feeling a little bit heavier with each breath. Now to come out of Savasana, I'm going to ask you to take 2 long, slow, steady breaths. And with each inhale, just let it go with a sigh, very soft through the mouth. And again, inhaling deeply through the mouth. Start to bring some movement back into your fingers and toes, your hands and your feet. Keeping your eyes closed, bend your knees and roll to your right side. And we'll just rest there for 2 to 3 breaths. So try to get cozy on your side. Now before you come up, this is not the time for a sit-up. So roll over a little further onto your right arm and use both arms to push yourself up to a seated position. And just try to sit comfortably, either with the soles of your feet together or your legs crossed. Maybe thinking about your posture in a new way, sitting a little taller, breathing a little more deeply, and thinking more clearly. And then if you like, traditionally, we bring the palms together as we bow. Namaste. All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming.